see it later. So on today's session, we are going to see only two titles. So biomedical recorders. So in that, we'll see ECG and multi-channel ECG. So that's all will wind up today. So biomedical recorders. It's made up of three words: biomedical recorders. Coming from bottom up, recorder means equipment which is going to record or going to keep track of, going to account something. So that is what you call it as a record. Record is something you maintain, something you keep track of. An equipment that does this is called as a recorder. Now, medical recorder means we are going to record or the information which is related to human anatomy, the function of the body. So that is medical recorder. So this medical recording could be in as a hard copy, or it could be as a soft copy. Now biomedical recorder specially speaks about uh, means the human activities. Bio means life, taken from biology. So any biological activity that is related to human beings, when we tend to record it, then it is called as biomedical recorders, right? So that's what biomedical recorders means. So this is going to be an equipment so that will tend to record the human activity or human, actually we need to speak about any organs activity, right? So that's what biomedical recorders. In today's session we'll see about one biomedical recorder which is called as electrocardiogram. Wait a minute, there is a network issue. So basically, before going into that, let's see the bottom line principle or the overview of how these biomedical recorders will function. So we have to record the activity that is associated with some organ of the human being. So we have already seen in yesterday's class about what is electrode. So electrodes will convert the ionic current which is happening inside the body into electronic current. So to pick up the signal, basically we need an electrode, right? So now the electrode has taken the work of converting the ionic current into electronic current. So from there we need to give it to signal conditioning unit. Can somebody say what is signal conditioning unit will be? Anybody? You would have studied in DSP, right? So signal conditioning unit. Anybody? Students respond. Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what could be signal conditioning unit? It could be a simple amplifier, or it could be a filter. It could be anything, right? So the signal picks up by the electrodes. In yesterday's session, we saw that it will be in micro or millivolt. It's very minute. Micro means 10 to the power of -6. Milli means 10 to the power of -3. So such a small minute signal cannot be given to the circuits directly. So it needs to be amplified. The noises has to be removed, means filtered, and then it goes to finally the recording system. So this is how the basic building blocks will be. But internally, every biomedical recorder will have different units, specialized unit according to what signal we are going to record. So in today's session, so I told that we are going to see about electrocardiograph. The equipment is called as electrocardiogram. So this is made up of three words: electro, cardio, graph. So graph, we know that it is a plot of something, some values. There will be two axes. So one will be time axis, another will be amplitude or whatever you are going to record it. So that is why the name graph is there. What we are going to record is cardio. So cardio means, it's a biological word. Cardio means heart. So heart activity we are going to record. So that is why it is called as cardiograph. Why we have meant or included the word electrocardiograph means the electrical signal associated with the heart's activity. That's what we are going to record it. So that is what it is called as electrocardiograph. So this picture you would have seen it in uh, many movies. Like, so whenever the hero or the heroine is in ICUs, there'll be an equipment like this where it will be beep. So that is nothing but from today you need to understand that that is electrocardiograph, or that is an ECG machine. So this electrocardiogram or electrocardiograph is used to analyze the function of the heart. Specifically, for example, if there is a part of the heart that is not functioning properly, so we call, the medical people call it as infarction, or there is somehow means some part of the heart has become bulged or something like that, that is called as cardiac hypertrophy. So any of these are all medical words. Any, in general, any abnormality in the heart can be detected by seeing the shape of this signal. So we'll call it as PQRS waveform. So there is a title where we'll deal ECG, EEG signal, and we'll encode how to read from the signal. So that is another title. So let's get into this electrocardiograph. So the basic principle of electrocardiograph is this one. So there is a patient, right? So whose electrocardiogram we need to obtain. So from there, so you can see that there are some wires being connected. So from there means the electrodes are connected. Here you can follow my cursor. So the electrodes has been connected. So any biomedical recorder will have an electrode. So from these electrodes, as usual, we give it to an amplifiers. The amplifiers can be two types: pre-amplifiers, post-amplifiers. Pre-amplifiers are next to electrodes. Post-amplifiers will be basically power amplifiers, right? To boost the signal to a higher extent. So from there, we need to give it to a pen motor, because the output, see, the output is a graph. You will have an output in two forms. One is a hard copy, another one is a soft copy. So hard copy is given to the doctor, so they will try to analyze it, and even they'll put it in a file and maintain. Even the hospitals will have a soft copy for future use too. So that is why from amplifier it goes to a pen motor. So this is a simple one line principle, right? In detail, if you want to go, so there are something which is more interesting. So there will be more blocks too, right? So as usual, there is a patient. From him, there are so many leads which is being taken. Means there are number of electrodes, because you need to pick up, for example, if it is ECG, left atrium, right atrium, left ventricle, right ventricles, so on. You need to keep more, two or more electrodes for it. So from there, it is given to lead selector. Lead means this terminal, means the electrodes is what they call it as lead. So lead selector means we need to select number of leads, because you see in while taking the ECG there is a pattern about taking it. For example, first there could be a routine. First they will take left atrium and left ventricle, and then right atrium and right ventricle, something like that. So there is a pattern which the doctors will select. So this lead selector can be of two types. So one is manual, so one is pre-programmed. So means the algorithm will do it. So for every 2 seconds or every 5 seconds or every 5 minutes, it will tend to change it, something like that. So from there, it is given to, as I told before, it is given to pre-amplifiers. So in one-line principle, I told it as amplifier. So here it is given to pre-amplifier. So pre-amplifier will convert the signal from microvolt or millivolt signal that is originated from the body to a voltage range. So basically this preamplifiers, to be more technical, it will be the feedback amplifiers and differential amplifiers. So feedback amplifiers and differential amplifiers I've taught you in electronic circuits too in fourth semester, right? So these amplify, for example, feedback amplifiers will amplify the signal with low noise, low interference. Stability will be more. Where will be the interferences? The interferences will be from the surrounding. So that's why we need a preamplifier here. So following this preamplifier will be a power amplifier. So power amplifier also we have seen it in electronic circuits 2 subject 4th semester. It will be class A or class B, class C and class D also. Especially here, it will be a class B push-pull amplifier. So class B push-pull demands two inputs, right? So one input is from the electrodes. There is another input. I'll tell you about bridge up. So the another input is from the feedback network, means from the bridge circuit they'll try to give. Means, see, this push pull amplifier, class B push pull amplifier, as we know, when one transistor works, there will be two transistors. One will be in push operation, another will be in pull operation. It's simply like a door. When you push, you cannot pull, and when you pull, you cannot push. So at a time you can do only one thing, right? So based upon that only it was named as push pull amplifier. So this push pull amplifier will have two signals, but any one time it will take only one signal. So what I'm trying to mean is, see, um, there will be uh, the feedback from the bridge circuit. For example, uh, let me show it to you. So the plotter is trying to plot the graph, right? When it is going, there is a point when it reaches the end of the paper, it needs to come back. So that's what we call it as damping. So whenever we need to damp, wait a minute. So just hold on. I forgot to turn on my video because of the call. So we'll continue from where we left. Just hold on. So here we are. See, it's like this. So whenever we are recording something, it will reach the end of the paper. So when the end of the paper reaches, the pen has to come back, right? So that bringing it back is called as damping. So the damping is whenever you make the damping, the recording has to stop. So that's why the power amplifier here it's a push-pull amplifier. So momentarily, when you want to damp the pen, you will momentarily stop the signal. So push-pull amplifier is given that way. So the damping is taken by the feedback network. So from power amplifier, you can follow my cursor. So from power amplifier, why? Yeah, from power amplifier, why it is, can you see it? Shift. Yeah. So from power amplifier, there is something called as a bridge output circuit. See, the bridge circuit is just to ensure that the pen motor, see, the pen motor is of electrical ones. It's a motor one. So the electrical equipment motor needs some impedance matching. So this signal from the power amplifier has to be impedance matched, means the maximum power transfer theorem says when the source resistance is equal to the load resistance, then the maximum power will tend to happen. So that's why we have a bridge output circuit. So from here is what the feedback signal is being given. So whenever you need damping, momentarily you will stop uh, the power amplifier, means the signal from the leads, so that the pen can go. So that is how it is. So the pen motor here can only do, means do two things, can go up and can come down. So the pen motors, according to the amplitude, the pen will move up or the pen will move down. So that's what it will do. So at the backward, the chart will be moved. So the plotting can happen. So the chart driven motor is separately given and the pen motor is separately given. So to have or to drive the chart motor, there is something called as auxiliary circuits. Auxiliary is a familiar word to you. Auxiliary means extra, miscellaneous, something like that. So the auxiliary circuits does many works here. So one of the work is it takes control or takes care of the chart transport motor. So chart is moving on side and pen is plotting. The resulting is you get a graph. So that's why. So one operation of auxiliary circuit is it will take care of the chart speed or the scale of the plot. If you want a compressed scale, the chart needs to move slowly. If you want an expanded scale, the chart needs to move fastly, something similar to that. So the second thing is when we do calibration operation, so the auxiliary circuits will produce 1 millivolt signal. So I'll come with what is calibration, right? So I'll tell you that in the next slide. So there are two modes of operation. So one is basically this equipment can be run in measurement mode. Measurement mode means we are measuring the ECG, plotting the ECG. What about servicing? So calibration is nothing but uh, we need to service this equipment then and there. So whenever there is a measurement, there is something called as benchmarking. Means we have a reference scale and we need to see to that our mapping or our plotting falls into that benchmark scale. So that is what we call it as calibration. So during calibration means during servicing, so we call that mode of operation as standby mode. So during that mode we will not have the patient. So we will generate internally a signal. So that's what I told you, that the auxiliary signal circuits will bypass these lead selectors, which means there is no patient. Now we are locally generating a signal. So that is going to preamplifier, means that 1 millivolt signal is going to preamplify it. And we will see that whether the plotter at the output is plotting properly. If it plots properly, then it means everything is fine. So that is standby mode. So standby mode is done in a regular basis, means whenever we need calibration, right? For example, it depends upon the equipment and it depends upon the choice of the hospital or whosoever takes care of this ECG machine. So they will have weekly routine of calibrating or monthly routine or whatever. So basically there are two operations. So one is measurement mode, the other one is standby mode, right? So we pick up a signal, it's given to a lead selector because we need to select certain leads only, and then it goes to preamplifier, right? So noise rejection, so all feedback amplifiers, differential amplifiers lies here. From here it goes to power amplifier. It can be A, class B, or class C, or class D. Here specifically we use class B. So class B needs two signals. So one is signal line, the other one is feedback line. So feedback is just for damping, bringing back the pen motor. So that's all, right? So this is ECG. So there are certain technical points to remember. So when it comes to exam, you need to be more technical, right? So the frequency used here for ECG generally lies in 0.5 hertz, 0.05 hertz to 150 hertz. For example, 1 hertz means 1 cycle per second, means 1 beat per second. So 60 beats, right? 0.5 means only 30 beats. So 0.5 hertz to it goes to, it can even measure up to 150 hertz. For example, if it kids, especially during pregnancy, the kid's heartbeat will be something very fast, like a horse running. So it can even support up to 150 hertz. The common mode rejection ratio, so you know what is CMRR. So differential amplifiers, common mode rejection ratio should be 100 to 150 dB gain, and the paper recording speed at the maximum, it can be 25 millimeter per second, and sensitivity of ECG will be 10 millimeter per millivolt. Means sensitivity means the smallest signal that the machine can respond to. Here our ECG signal can respond to, for 1 millivolt, it can show a difference of 10 millimeter. Graph 10 millimeter, it will move. So that's the minimum sensitivity that our ECG equipment will show the difference. And frequency selective network, I told it's for damping. So now the third or the last title is multi-channel ECG. ECG means electrocardiograph, right? So now multi-channel ECG means there are many channels that can be simultaneously recorded. For example, I'll try to show you. Just hold on, right? Not this one. I'll show you an example of what is multi-channel. Yeah, you can follow on my mobile that, see, there are two screens parallelly, right? Now I can even go and browse here or even do this. So what I'm basically doing is, so this is multi-channel, multiple screens in our mobile, right? So similarly, multi-channel ECG means simultaneously you can record two or more patterns at a time. So in the beginning, I said there is a lead selector, right? So for example, I said, for example, that they will, for first 5 or 1 or 2 minutes, they will read only, means left atrium and right ventricle, something like that. For next 5 minutes, they'll go with the next slot. So instead of doing that, they can record simultaneously. Why and how does simultaneous recording helps? For example, in case of heart patients, heart attacks or something, you cannot wait for the next 5 minutes. Anything can happen in the middle time, in the meantime. So if you forgot to record it, even if it is 1 second, so you miss out something which is very important. So multi-channel ECG helps where critical cases needs to be handled. For example, in ICUs, we'll go for multi-channel ECG. For a normal diagnosing, we'll go for single-channel ECG. For example, sometimes the doctor writes a prescription, go take an ECG and come, we'll try to see. So in that case, single-channel is far better. The cost is low. Multi-channel is for continuous monitoring. Parallelly, you monitor something. And also, this multi-channel ECG helps in another very important or a bigger advantage, that relative study is possible. So in single channel ECG, you miss certain data for, even if it is 1 minute or 5 seconds, you miss certain data. Whereas here, parallelly, it goes on. So you can relate the activity and you can study. For example, left atrium and right atrium, you can relate and how both are functioning. So that relative study is always possible in multi-channel ECG. So let's see how this multi-channel ECG is done. So as usual, there is a patient. So from here, the leads or the electrodes is being taken. So here, there is no lead selector. There is a multiplexer. So I think you would have studied what is multiplexer. Can somebody say what is multiplexer? Is unmute on talk. Can somebody say what is multiplexer? Students, you there? Yes, Alga Balaji, I'm not able to hear. Talk a little bit louder. Is what is multiplexer? The answers can be wrong. I'm here to explain. What is multiplexer? Okay, so multiplexer means many to one, right? So many inputs. So even in digital electronics, they would have taught you 4th semester, right? So many to one. So many channels are brought to a single channel. Means like something similar to your cable television. So if you turn on, there are simultaneously channels going on at a time. You see one. So the channels are frequency division. Frequency is divided into scales and it is being multiplexed. So similarly here, the number of leads is being multiplexed and it is being given to A to D converter. So A to D is analog to digital converter. So these analog signals picked up from the body is now being digitized. So it is given to from digital, this digital signal is being given to the microprocessor or a microcontroller. I have shown you what is microprocessor or controller here. So it's a mini computer. So that will process the signal. So it will try to store, retrieve, convert from one frame to another frame. So all these things will be done by the microprocessor. Sorry. So from this microprocessor, it goes to D to A converter. From digital to analog, it converts. So why it needs to be converted to digital to analog? Because finally it needs to be plotted in a graph, right? So only the computer understands digital. In practical, whatever is available in nature, everything is analog in nature. So that's why analog signal, the computer cannot understand. You convert it into digital. From digital, finally, from the output of the microcontroller, you convert into analog. So from there, see, you have multiplexed. You have made 10 or 5 channels multiplexed one into one channel, and then you process. Now you need to convert into 10 channels and plot simultaneously. So you need to do the reverse operation, multi, many, plex, one. Now demultiplex means one to many, you convert. So now if there are 3 channels, then it needs to be recorded simultaneously. So you have a pen recorder, you have 2 or more pens that will simultaneously record. So that's what. So that's how it is being achieved. So other than this, you have additional circuitries here too. So if you want to parallelly view what is the ECG signal, it is given to a monitor, a TFT or CRT screen where we can view it simultaneously. And there is another additionally circuits which is the memory unit. So especially memory, there are 2 types of memory. So one is ROM, the green color, and the other one is RAM, the brown color. ROM is read only memory. So this is where the operating system, any equipments if you take right from the mobile cell phones, you have an operating system. It needs to turn on, it needs to boot and do its operation automatically, unless otherwise we tend to change it. So the operating system is stored in ROM, read only memory, and the random access memory, you know about RAM, right? Even in cell phones, when you select a cell phone, you'll go for 4 GB or 8 GB or 16 GB RAM. So it is for processing. So these data, in order to process, it needs a temporary memory to process. So that is why RAM is required. So the memory units has both RAM and ROM. So other than that, there is an input device too, means there is a keyboard. So whenever you want to change the program, right? So you need to attach an input device like a keyboard, and then you can reprogram it. Or even when diagnosing or troubleshooting some problem, you need an input. So that's why you have a keyboard here. So this is the multi-channel ECG. So the multi-channel ECG works more of digital. So there was no analog to digital converter or a microcontroller in the ECG, single channel ECG. It's more analogous, whereas multi-channel ECG is more digital. So only in the first block you have an analog signal and everything is digitized, and finally also you have a digital, means an analog signal pen output, or a digital signal, you can view it as such. So that is multi-channel ECG. So we have planned an activity for today. So I thought if we would have reopened, I would have given it allotted for students. So now means as a hard circuit, whereas now you'll do it in simulation. So in EC2 lab, we have seen about multisim, right? So now any 3 students can form 2 groups. So I'll wait till today evening so you can volunteer. You need to simulate a class B power amplifier. So we have studied it in electronic circuits too. So why I'm asking is, class B power amplifier was only used in power amplifier of are ECG machines, right? So there are two class B power amplifier. One is complementary symmetry, one is push-pull amplifier. So both the batches, one batch has to design a push-pull amplifier, another batch has to design a complementary symmetry push-pull amplifier. So this we have done in lab. So additionally, what I have done is I've given a criteria. So the input voltage range should be 1 to 5 volt, and the output voltage has to be from 5 to 25 volt, means 1 volt has to be converted to into 5 into 5 will be 25. So the gain you need to fix it as 5 volt. So that is two batches. Another batch has to come up with a selector circuit, lead selector. We saw lead selector, right? So similarly here you have to select, means you need to design a selector circuit which will select one from two inputs. For every 5 seconds it needs to change, right? So first it needs to select this for first 0.5 second, then it needs to select the second one. There are only two inputs I've given. So this is simple. When I say selector, it could be like complicated. If I say what is that selector circuit, it will be easy. So it is simply an astable multivibrator. In EC2 we studied. So every 0.5 it selects, means red LED ons, green LED ons, something like similar to that. So you need to come up with this circuitries. So three batches. Who is that batch? You need to design, you need to form a batch and let me know who is going to do it. Maybe on next week you need to show it to me, this one. So for today we have one online quiz, so where I'll post this link in our WhatsApp group, official group. You need to fill it before the end of the session. So we have 10 more minutes left. So you need to fill it up. So based upon that only, you'll get means you'll get the attendance. So I think I'm recording it. So I'll try to stop the recording. Wait a minute.